be happy? How can you be singing? How can you be anything but low down, saggy, and rag-bag, baggy, and blue? Interesting fact, the original voice of that character from the 40s was Bozo the Clown. The original Bozo the Clown. Also known as Goofy. Pinto Colvig. That was his name. So, Digital Circus has released its fifth episode. And I'm just so happy that they're making this show. And I'm so grateful that they're making this show. I guess that's a better word. Because how can you be happy, you know? I don't think you can be anything but low down, saggy, and rag-bag, baggy, and blue. But I am grateful because it's so good. It's good! And you know what's funny is I was... yesterday I was watching the show Santa Inc. because I saw that it got a lot of hate when it came out. But it's funny because I remember seeing the clips that people would show and thinking, well, it doesn't look that bad. Like some of the ideas looked kind of funny, and I liked the animation a bit. And so yesterday I was watching that show. And yeah, I mean, I was trying to give it a chance, but it's really not very good. It's not well written. There is absolutely no subtlety at all to any of the dialogue. They explain the joke every single time. The characters don't really make any sense. There's nothing charming about it for the most part. The only thing I kind of liked was actually Sarah Silverman's character, who is the main character of the show. But yeah, it's just not very good. And so it's then I see this come out, this fifth episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, and it's just like, wow, the difference in writing quality is stupendous. This is a really good show. Now I didn't talk about it when episode 4 came out. And there is a reason for that. It's because I think episode 4 and episode 5 mark a difference in what the show is achieving than the first 3 episodes. Because the first 3 episodes had very strong conceptual themes, and they also had character development. But the conceptual stuff was very present in those 3. Pertaining to the concept of this situation that these characters are in. This being stuck in a digital prison. Which was, I just thought that was such a cool idea, and they did cool things with that idea, and the idea of trying to kind of prevent yourself from going insane. And that was really driving, I think, a lot of what was going on in those first 3 episodes, and that's why I was excited about them and really wanted to talk about them. on this channel. And then episode 4 comes out, and it's interesting because there is a psychological aspect of episode 4, but it feels very much like something that would just happen in real life, in regular life, where Gangle is kind of going crazy from being a manager at a fast food restaurant. Great character development for Gangle. Really great episode. But nothing really that's exactly relevant to this concept. And the same thing in episode 5, this one, where it's great writing and great character development, but it's still not. It seems like we are in a stage in the show where the show has accepted its premise and is trying to move on from it. And I hope that this will not be the rest of the show, because it's a very limited run. It's only going to be 9 episodes, I think. So it's I imagine that they're taking a break from the heavy conceptual stuff now to focus on character development, and then they're going to bring it back. Especially because the one thread that they have been keeping up since episode 3 is Kane and him being sort of insecure and having this weird, his own psychology, his own neurosis about the idea of him being useful, his purpose being fulfilled in this program. He seems very insecure about that. And the problem with that seems to be that when he gets insecure, things like the whole system gets unstable. Things start kind of glitching and breaking down. And so we're seeing that in this episode 5, this recent episode, which is a very unhinged episode. Episode 4 was the most grounded, actually. It felt real, and there were a lot of really funny jokes in it. I love that NPC who comes in like, I ordered the stupid burger, and you forgot to add the sauce that makes you stupid. Don't forget the sauce. There's a lot of really funny stuff like that, and I just love, in this show, we're getting more and more, I think, of Gooseworks' personality and sense of humor coming out in the writing, and I love it. If you've ever seen Gooseworks' Twitter, or sorry, Gooseworks' X, I don't use X, but I see her tweets on Reddit. She has this really unhinged Twitter persona that's really funny, and you get that in the show, and more the show is like, this recent episode really feels like the same person who made all those unhinged Twitter posts or X posts. But yeah, so I didn't make a video about episode 4 when it came out. But it was very good, and it reminded me actually of the first episode of the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared TV series, which is about jobs. Similar concept there, kind of looking at jobs and how they make us feel. And they even have a similar thing where, like, Jax is put in like, he has to watch a training video because he's been bad, and they kind of like do this sort of like brainwashing psychological torture thing on him. Similar thing happens in Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, that first episode of the TV series, where I think the duck character goes into like the therapy room or whatever, and some silly, insane stuff happens. But another thing that reminds me of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, especially in this recent episode, episode 5, is the fact that everything kept switching up in the episode. And that was something that was cool about this recent one, is that they did like 5 or 6 different adventures in it. And so the scenery was always changing, and the situation they were in was always changing. That feels very Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. One of the things that's really cool about Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is how fast everything moves, and how you never feel entirely settled in the environment. And so the situations and the drama that are going on right now in Digital Circus feel not necessarily integrally tied to the concept of the show. It's more about, okay, we've done that and set up where these people are. Now we have to look a little bit deeper into who these people are. So I think that's what's going on right now. And so the last one focused a lot on Gangle and developing. Oh, I loved the fast food manager Gangle with the mask that's clearly kind of supposed to be representative of antidepressants. It's an allegory for that. I thought that was so funny. I remember even when seeing just the shot of her with that mask on in the trailer, I knew immediately what they were going to do with that character, and I thought, oh, that's perfect. And it was just so funny, because you like nobody likes that kind of manager, you know? Nobody fucking likes that shit. But that was the role that Gangle had to play in that adventure. And I really liked the scene when that hilarious moment when Gangle goes out back and takes off her fast food manager mask, and then just starts like screaming and almost crying, and then suddenly is like, wait a minute, and looks over and Pomni's trying to take out the trash, and it's like I mean, just comedy gold. And then that scene also has that great moment where Gangle sits down and Pomni sits down, and then Pomni's like, okay, I guess we're doing another one of these, because she'd already done one with what's his name, Gummy Goo, and then after that in the next episode she did one with Kinger, I think. So she's like, okay, another one of these. Another one of these. I'm gonna talk to a character who's having an issue and, you know, be there for them. But then it doesn't. That was also funny, is that it doesn't happen. Because Gangle's like, nope, can't be doing this. We gotta get back to work. Gotta repress our feelings. It just did. Oh, and I love that moment at the end when they close up, and then Jax just goes. They have to drive home. So the adventure doesn't end with them closing the store. They also have to drive home, and so Jax gets in his car and just sort of sighs and puts his head on the steering wheel. They didn't have to put that in the episode, but it was just another little thing to add to this theme of like all these things that people are familiar with if they've ever worked a job. Like, you know, all of the different sort of archetypal things that happen in a workday. And they did such a great job, like, they didn't skimp on any of it. Like, no, we have to show Jax getting in his car at the end of the workday and driving home. That's very important to it. And the lack of music in that episode is also great. It did a great job at making it feel more realistic. Another thing that made it more realistic was the textures, which you saw in episode 1 when they're eating the digital feast prepared by Bubble. It's all polygons. It's not very smooth and realistic looking by design. But then what's funny is that in this episode everything is very realistic looking. Like the patties look like realistic hamburger patties, you know. And so it shows that they don't have to make it look unrealistic. They did that as part of the joke, and then it's even funnier when you see that the digital circus doesn't have to look like that. It just looks like that kind of really, I mean, it adds to the sort of psychological torture aspect of it, the subtle psychological torture. And it's interesting because we're still not getting an impression of who might be on the other side of this, if anyone is on the other side of this watching this show. All we see is Kane. That's all we get as far as the meta level of it. He has his own worries and insecurities, but he doesn't seem conscious of anything outside of himself. And then that NPC at the end of episode 5, what was that about? That guy just looking at them all ominously. And, like, I don't get it. Kane did say something about, like, looks like the toy box creature wants to have me just run the AIs all the time. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Oh yeah, he calls them candy hearts and paper flowers at the beginning of the episode. Another Raggedy Ann reference. Gooseworks really likes that movie, I guess. There's so many references. There was even one in the episode 4 that I didn't even pick up on when I saw it. Which was the line from No Girls Toy that Ragatha says. Like, tea parties, dancing lessons, boxes falling on my head. Something like that. But yeah, I loved how unhinged this one was, and this was one where, really, I think with most episodes of this show, the only one that didn't do this to me, I think, was episode 2. But most episodes of this show take me 2 watch-throughs to really get all of it, which is a sign that the show is doing something right when it gives me so much to chew on that I can't take it all in one go. I have to go back and watch it again in order to get everything out of it. That's really cool. And so that, yeah, I watched it yesterday, and then as soon as it was over, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to watch this again in order to fully take it in. And so today I watched it again, and Yeah, the character development is good with Ragatha and Jax. It seemed like this one focused a lot on that, on the kind of duality of Ragatha trying to always be nice and Jax trying to always be mean, and how you can see it kind of seems what they're getting at. It seems like these are not simply coping mechanisms for being in the digital circus. These are personality traits they carried with them from a previous life. And we get a little hint of that with Jax when Ragatha's talking about something. She's talking about him not having friends anymore, which I didn't pick up on. That was the thing that was being referenced the first time around. I had to watch it a second time to really pay attention to, like, because Ragatha says, sorry for bringing up that thing earlier, and I'm like, wait, what thing? What was she talking about? She was talking about when she said that Jax doesn't have friends anymore. And that kind of made Jax mad, and we don't know why. We don't know what that was about, and I don't know if that's something else that happened in the circus or something else that happened in his life before the circus. But it seems like they're hinting at it with Ragatha having her past with her mother. They're hinting that these personalities that they've created are not simply them coping with their current situation. They also have to do with what they've inherited from their previous lives. And I think episode 1 was not very clear about the fact that they do remember their previous lives. When I watched episode 1, I was under the impression that they don't remember anything, because, or don't even remember why they're there, because they didn't talk about why they were there, other than that Pomni put on a strange headset. And yeah, and they don't remember their names. But as the show goes on, it becomes more clear what they do and don't remember. There was a blowjob joke in this one, which I think one of Gooseworks' tweets, unhinged tweets that I read, was she dropped, "There's gonna be a sex joke in episode 5, watch out." And there's actually like a few sexual references in this episode. There's like 3, which is kind of strange. There's also a lot of swearing in this one, censored swearing, because it's the digital circus where everything is censored. But there's a lot of it in this one, way more than in previous episodes. This one took a more adult turn, I think. But there's a blowjob joke in the Oval Office scene when I guess the joke is that Kinger is blowing Pomni. But yeah, Pomni is getting closer to Jax because I don't know, I think Pomni appreciates that her friends or fellow inmates are real. They're real people. And that, I think, soothed her a bit in episode 2. But I think she still feels kind of alone there, as much as Ragatha doesn't want her to feel alone. And Gangle even acknowledges that, yeah, Ragatha tries, but through her obsessive trying, she kind of sabotages herself and makes everyone feel more alone than ever. And so Gangle kind of found comfort in Zubul in the last episode, because Zubul's a little bit more real than Ragatha. But Zubul, it takes a lot to get Zubul out of her shell. Jax is kind of just letting himself hang out there, He's not very reserved and shut away the way Zubul is. But he's a dick. And I think Pomni is just kind of getting tired of getting tired of feeling bad for herself and feeling scared of this place, and kind of wanting to resonate more with Jax's carefree energy. And that's making Ragatha upset because she's like, well, I've been so nice to Pomni and she doesn't seem to like me, and she's getting interested in this guy who's just a total dick. Like, what's going on? Like, this isn't fair. So I really think what we need is more development for Ragatha. I hope we're getting that in episode 6. I think that's right around the corner. I want her to keep going with that arc. And I just find Jax interesting because we've seen this sort of carefree dick character in a lot of shows, but there's a dark side to Jax. Like, there's something sadistic about Jax in a way that whenever they don't shy away from showing it, it's kind of like, whoa, yeah, that's who this guy is. Like, he's not just like, even Rick from Rick and Morty wasn't sadistic. He just was selfish. There's a lot of characters like that, like Blitz from Hell of a Boss. You know, he's kind of selfish. He's kind of a dick. But Jax is that way, but he's also a sadist. He likes hurting people, and he kind of like takes out his frustration by just being cruel, not being mean, but being cruel to other people, to Gangle, to Zubul, to Ragatha, especially those three. And that's interesting about him. And I remember thinking, what if they go in a villain arc direction with Jax? I don't think that's where they're going at this point. But if anything, that makes it more interesting because it's this sadistic character who isn't a villain. He's just kind of hanging out with them as one of them, and they put up with him. But he's dark. And I think it keeps in perspective how serious the situation is, which is easy. It's easy to kind of lose that in these episodes that are focusing more on character development and less on concept. But it's good that I think Jax keeps that dark side to him, because it keeps that a little bit in focus. But yeah, that's my review of 4 and 5 of Digital Circus. Both great episodes. I've loved every episode of this series so far. I think my least favorite overall was number 3. But even that one had some really good stuff in it. So